And I think I've got everyone muted. If not, if you can just hit that mute button in the bottom left-hand corner. We don't have any background noise, and we will have some time for questions later on at the end of the slides. So first of all, welcome back. We are excited to start the new year off, and we appreciate all of you joining us tonight. For those who haven't checked it out yet, the volunteer resource page is updated for 2023. And you are welcome to customize those documents, as you need. Just keep in mind that anything other than adding the group ID, location ID, and QR code does need to be approved for your regional liaison team prior to printing and distributing. As many of you may have already heard, the price of the READ sponsorships did increase to $17 this year. As the year-long mission continues to grow, so do the operational costs associated with growing new and existing programs, such as the TEACH initiative and the Veterans Outreach efforts. However, we are really excited that with this change, we're still able to continue our sponsorship group programs. So sponsorship $5 back groups will continue to get $5 back, and the 3 for 2 groups will continue to get that third READ for free. The price increase was effective February 1st. And the order forms that have all been updated on the resource page, as I mentioned before. So we just want to make sure that you guys take a look at those, make sure you print off the updated ones, and that we use those going forward. Anything that was sent in up through the end of January will be honored at that $15 rate. I messed up on my notes there. I forgot to take out some stuff I didn't need to say. It confused me for a second. Right. Okay, we are also excited for the responses we got back for the 2022 survey. And, we've sent a survey out the last few years and we've gotten very few responses back. So this year we got tons and we love it. We love the feedback. We love knowing, things that we can do to make everyone's life a little bit easier. We're really excited that we were able to make some changes to incorporate some of the things that were most asked for. The finance team has worked really hard on improving some of our systems. And because of that, we're excited that we're going to be able to issue payback checks for the $5 back groups on the 15th of each month from February through November. This new monthly date will make it easier for your regional liaison team to provide you with updates on the statuses of your payback checks. In order to prevent any delays, though, it is important that you make sure that you always use those approved forms and clearly print your location and group IDs on the form. Anytime donations are sent without proper forms, it causes a delay in processing the checks, which causes a delay in getting you guys those payback checks. We are working on some ways that we can better communicate to you guys when those payback checks do go out. So stay tuned for some exciting stuff around that. Many people have asked that the mailed-in sponsorship receive an email receipt. And that is another thing that over the next month, we will be fine-tuning the process so that all mailed-in orders will start receiving an emailed receipt. This will make it easier to let them know their order was received and for them to request an order correction by simply following the link that's in the email. Keep in mind, if the email address is not provided, we would not be able to send that receipt. We're also excited that with the updates in finance, we are now able to once again start accepting grave-specific requests through the mail, as well as online, as long as the location is set to accept grave-specific requests. This will give more sponsors an opportunity to have a wreath placed for their loved one, regardless of how they choose to pay. We will walk through this in detail on the next slide. And another big change for Wreaths Across America is that we are permanently moving the cutoff date to the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. This is giving you even more time to gather funds for sponsored veterans wreaths, as well as allowing you to take advantage of Giving Tuesday. So now we have to all train ourselves to not say, it's the Monday after Thanksgiving, because we've been saying that since the beginning of time. And now we will have to switch that to the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. And we've extended that the last couple of years. So it's not, a huge deal, but we are excited that we don't have to wait for us to make that announcement later in the year. We're just going to go ahead and permanently move that, make it a little bit easier for everybody. There are many other improvements and changes that we're going to be making to improve the processes for the volunteers. So make sure you read through the policies carefully And stay tuned for some website updates coming in the next couple months. And I promise we will not put those updates out in October like we did last year, because we know that caused a lot of frustration for people, including all of Race Across America staff as well. So in the next few months, like I said, we'll stay tuned. We're going to have some updates coming that I think will be really exciting and make everyone's life a little bit easier. So now let's talk about the grade specific requests. Grade specific requests are only accepted at select participating locations. Ultimately, it's up to the location coordinator if they're able to accommodate those grade specific requests. To check if the location accepts grade specific requests, you want to go to your location page, click or their location page, and click the red button to sponsor wreaths. When the online order form comes up, look where it says more options. And if you see the grave specific listed, then they would accept them. If it's not listed, they don't. It's also always a good idea to reach out to your location coordinator. And obviously this is directed toward group leaders that are not location coordinators. You're going to want to reach out to your location coordinator and, make sure you have that conversation with them and find out what you can do to help them, and find out if they do accept those grade specifics directly rather than just going to the website. Grade specific requests are the only way to guarantee placement of a wreath at a headstone of a particular veteran unless the sponsor is able to attend and place that wreath themselves. They can be requested online or through the mail with the approved grade specific wreath sponsorship form or over the phone. An email address is required for the mailed order because the sponsor must respond to an email that they will receive from Wreaths Across America to provide the grade specific information and to ensure placement of that wreath rather than putting it on the form. And I'll show you that new form on the next slide and we'll kind of talk through that a little bit. Alternatively, you can also gather a list of grade specific requests and send in the wreath sponsorship forms accompanied by a wreath sponsorship order form and tally sheet, and then manually enter them into the grade specific report on your dashboard prior to the cutoff date. And I know that as over the last few years, that's what a lot of groups have done because we did not take those through the mail. So you can still continue to do that. And then obviously it's in there right away. You don't have to wait for us to receive the checks to get those grade specific. So especially as we get closer to cutoff, it might be a little bit more timely to just be able to do that. And we do have instructions on how, step-by-step instructions on how to do that on our volunteer resource page. And your regional liaisons can also always help. Another thing that we are excited to put into place this year is that after the cutoff date, the grade specific option will be shut off so that site-wide, so that location coordinators will have time to finalize their grade specific list. And I know that kind of came up in topic a lot last year, and it's always been location coordinators have the ability to turn that off at any time. And you still have that. You can, turn that off and turn that back on. We just ask that if you decide halfway through the year you don't want to accept grade specific requests, you need to at least honor any that have already come through, and always make sure you're communicating that with your regional liaison team. But like I said, going for this year, when it cutoff hits the next day, the grade specific option will be shut off site-wide. So no one has to remember to go in and shut that off. And we don't have to deal with that frustration where someone places an order the day before the ceremony and doesn't understand why that grade specific wreath did not get placed. And I appreciate all of you volunteers for putting up with that for so many years and kind of handling that as it comes about. And we know that everyone who takes grade specific has probably had someone show up that day or after or email after that's upset. So we're hoping to put some of this stuff in place to make y'all's lives a little bit easier. So this is the new wreath sponsorship order form for the grade specific request. After you've confirmed your location accepts grade specific request, then you will complete the form with the sponsor's email address and phone number. The email is required because once we receive the order, the sponsor will receive an email requesting all the grade specific information. So you can see on the form here in the grade specific in the bottom left-hand corner, it just asks for the veteran's name, the sponsor's email address, and the sponsor's phone number. If someone does not have an email, they only have a phone number, you can just put the phone number, we'll call them. We do not recommend that just because that's going to take a little bit more time for someone to call them to get that information. So ideally you want to try to get their email address, but we do know some of our demographic, they don't use emails. We also have on the form the cutoff date for the grade specifics on there, that they do need to be received by a certain date. So if the forms are handed out, people can kind of keep track of knowing when they need to send those in if they're sending those in straight to us. So once they fill that form out, once we get the form, we're going to shoot them off an email. If anyone has done an email to if any location coordinators has sent an email out to someone who's placed a grade specific request requesting more information, saying, hey, we're missing some information, we need you to fill this out. It's going to be very similar to that. It's the same functionality. The email will just be tailored a little differently, and it's going to say, hey, we received, your grade specific request. We just need some information in order to complete it. And at that point, it will have them click on a link where they're going to put that information in, and then it will automatically be updated to the system. So we're really excited. We think this will make this a little bit easier for everyone. And again, just giving people an opportunity who may not want to pay online to still be able to do those grade specific requests. So we've talked a lot about the new order form. So let's just do a quick walkthrough on the mailing in the orders. And remember, in order to process orders in a timely manner, it's important that everyone follows the steps to ensure that we have accurate information. So step one, the new order form must be included with all mailed orders. They can be found on the volunteer resource page under orders and notification forms. Step two, you want to print off those new sponsorship order form and the tally sheet, and your liaisons will help you customize those forms for your specific group and location, and you will need both forms to be able to hand out. Step three, you want to complete the sponsorship order form for each check and then complete the tally sheet for the entire batch of checks in the envelope. You make copies of the forms for your records, but remember, you should not make copies of the checks. Next, we want to mail the checks to Wreaths Across America within 30 days of receiving the checks. And even sooner than that is better. Ideally, every 2 weeks you want to send those in. The longer you hang on to the check, the longer it's good by the time it gets to us. And then we have to process it. And then that's where you have people, complaining that the check's not been processed, or sometimes the checks bounce. And then that causes a little bit of headache as well. So let's just send those checks in more regularly. Orders received with incorrect forms or missing information. We also experience delays in processing. So make sure if you have questions, reach out to your liaison. And once they are processed, the sponsors will receive that email receipt if they were provided that email. So that will also help them know, hey, my order did get received. And they'll know that the check got where it was supposed to go. So new this year is that it is now required that as a location coordinator or group leader, anytime you send in batches of checks in the mail, you must include a tally sheet. And we kind of put that into place during the cutoffs last year. A tally sheet was required to fill out that cutoff form. So this is just going to be a year-long thing to make sure that we've got all the information. And don't forget, you want to make copies of that or take a picture of the tally sheet before you send them to us, as this is your records in case it gets lost in the mail or for submitting cutoffs once we get in that crunch time. A couple things to note about the new form is the section in the left-hand corner at the top. This is for group leaders or location coordinators that are mailing the forms to fill out with their information so that if we have questions, we can quickly reach out. Working with over 6,000 sponsorship groups and over 3,700 locations, if we get a form and it's missing information or we can't read the location ID, or if there's multiple location IDs and we don't know how they're split out, sometimes it's hard for the finance office to find who they need to contact. So that part's going to be especially important to make sure that we are able to quickly know who we need to contact and get the answer for what we need to how we need to handle it so that we can get it processed in a timely manner. We've also included more of a breakdown of each check along with the email address. And this will just help us with faster processing as well as making sure that we have all the information that's needed. And it's also good for you guys when you make your copies of those. So if something is lost in the mail, or if you don't think that your orders have been applied correctly, you're going to have a more complete account of what you sent in so that you can help us figure out what's going on there. And we do have this the tally sheet in an Excel file as well. I know some people have preferred to use that, so that is on the volunteer resource page too. For individual checks that are mailed in to Reads Across America, a Reads sponsorship order form must be included. We recommend that you print and distribute the order forms with your QR code linking to your group page, as well as the direct link to your group page and your group ID and location ID. Your regional liaison team will assist you with customizing those forms. As you sign up, they're going to help make sure that you're provided with a copy of that with your updated QR code and that link already updated for you. If you want to collect checks and forms, then mail them in one envelope, you most definitely can. In that case, you just need to use your tally sheet and transfer the information from the individual sponsorship form onto the tally sheet. And then you can keep the sponsorship forms for your records so you don't have to make a copy of that tally sheet. You'll keep your original forms and only mail the tally sheet and the checks. The only exception is if the sponsor is requesting a Gray specific wreath in honor of or in memory of, and in those cases, you will list them on the tally sheet and include their original order form along with the checks and envelope, because we do need the full forms for those, because obviously it has that section along the bottom that tells us that there is an honor and memory or a Gray specific request. We've updated a lot of information on the group and location policies this year. So some of you may have already read through them as we've already started sending out reinstatements, but if not, I encourage you to take the time and read through them and reach out to your regional liaison team if you have any questions. We started sending out the reinstatements this past week. So if you haven't received that email yet, just stay tuned. And when we do receive it, we do ask that you allow a few weeks, as currently in the last 2 days, we've gotten like 1,500 location signups, which is awesome. But that will take us just a little bit of time to process. So we do appreciate your patience. Just know that we do have it. If you're unsure if your order form went through, you can reach out to your regional liaison. Going forward, everyone should be receiving an email copy letting them know that we did receive it. We did not have that function turned on at first, so some of you may not have received it. You do not need to submit it again. Like I said, just reach out to your regional liaison if you're not sure if that went through. And some of you already know that we are going to be bringing on some new regional liaisons to help support the growth. Last year, we made the change to regional emails to better streamline the information so you weren't having to email multiple people. And we're excited to continue to build out our regional liaison teams. You can now reach any of your regional liaison team members by emailing or calling them on their regional email and phone line. We hope to have some new liaisons on board before the end of March so that they all have a year to learn the ins and outs to help you guys all succeed. So stay tuned to see this slide start filling up. And on the map that is now updated on the volunteer resource page as well, you can see the regional liaison team's contact information. I encourage you to print this off and keep it handy, as it's a great resource for help to be able to quickly access the regional phone line and the regional email. And just a reminder on that, so last year we did switch. We asked everyone to email those regional emails. We've changed it now. We also have the regional phone line. So instead of using those emails and phone lines that you used previously for your individual liaisons, now you can just send it to one place and all of your liaisons will be able to access that and answer that. So it's a little bit more timely. So you're not having to email one person and then a day later email the other person. You're just going to send it to one place. And as always, we encourage all of our volunteers to connect with us online to share photos, stories, fundraising ideas, and more. If you're a registered location coordinator and group leader, you are all invited to join our private Facebook pages, private Facebook groups. And just check your registration confirmation emails for the details on how to join those. And now we're going to go on to our social media. And Amber, it is all yours.
Hi guys, I'm Amber. If I haven't met you yet, nice to meet you. We do encourage our groups and locations to have their own pages on social media. Facebook is probably the prime one. It's one most people are most aware of and know how to use. That being said, if you're more comfortable on Instagram, that's cool too. Just, we encourage you to reach out to Samantha on our team. We do have some new social media policies, especially for folks who are doing something that's specific to Wreaths Across America. It's some things you need to keep in mind. If you have a branded Wreaths Across America page, we do have some naming cadence that we'd like to keep just so to prevent confusion. There are a lot of Wreaths Across America pages out there. So we want to make sure that people who are visiting your page know which location or which group it is and which community you're part of and how they can make sure that they're actually supporting your efforts. We want to remember that if you're on a Wreaths Across America branded page, that you're keeping the mission at the forefront of everything that you're doing. This means that you would not be posting anything that's political or controversial or anything that's your own personal beliefs necessarily, because a reminder that you have your own page for those things. But that being said, it's a great opportunity. A lot of times, like during season, people will go to social media first to see if they can find information about your events or how they can support you. I would say, and we are going to be doing a little bit of cleanup over the next month or so. If you have an existing page that you're not using, if you haven't been actively engaging with people and sharing content, we probably will have that page turned off, just because we don't want any of our folks getting frustrated, and volunteers get frustrated. We hear a lot. Well, I went to their Facebook page and there was information from 2020 still on there. So if you're not going to have time to keep it up, or if you don't have someone, another volunteer that's helping you, we encourage you to certainly maybe sunset that page. And there might be other opportunities that we could help you with. We have a great team of people here that are willing to help you and walk you through steps that need to happen to get it done easily. So Samantha, who's not with us tonight because she's got a very active 1-year-old at home and it's his bedtime. But Samantha is a great person to talk to. She can help you through it. I think she's heard from a lot of people this week because of the reinstatement. So please give her a little bit of time to get through everyone's emails and get back to everybody. Go ahead, Julie. And then also, I know we all, we talk about this a lot because we're really excited about it. If you haven't turned on Wreaths Across America Radio, you're missing out. We have, I think on here, Chris Chapman is the newest member of our radio team. He's somewhere on here. I can't see you, Chris, but Chris is with, he's down in the Virginia area. Wave, Chris, if I missed you. Hi, Chris. Also known as Chris Powers on the radio. Chris is a DJ that's helping out and joining the team, and we're really excited to share stories of our volunteers. We want to hear what you're doing in your community. We want to hear who you're working with. If you have people that are volunteering and supporting the program that have fun, stories of service and honestly this year, especially service and success, we want to hear it. Wreaths Across America. So radio it's a voice for America's veterans, and it's your radio station. We have a live morning show Monday through Friday, 6 to 10 a.m. A lot of those shows, the interviews that are done in the morning are replayed in the afternoon as well. And for those on the West Coast, we won't make you get up at 5 a.m. unless you're part of the mobile education exhibit to do those interviews. We can do them in the afternoon and record them and play them back in the morning. So we definitely encourage you to tune in on wreathsacrossamerica.org/radio. It's on the iHeart, Odyssey, and TuneIn app. And really, we're looking to just share your stories. It's great music. It's very inspiring content. And if you email WAAradio@wreathsacrossamerica.org if you have a story or a person you'd like to highlight, and we'll get that coordinated for you.
And that's all I have, guys. I knew you would probably all have lots of questions, so we kind of kept it short so we had plenty of time for questions. So feel free to go ahead and raise your hand and we can kind of work through if anyone has questions. And yes, as a reminder, these slides can be found on our volunteer resource page, and we'll also be linking the recording to this within the next couple days. Diana, if you want to go ahead.
Yes, hi. What is the best practice? I've been doing this for a few years and I always wondered about this, but what is the best practice when you get cash or, rather than checks?
To get a money order and send it in with a money order would probably be the best.
Because, okay, so get a money
Don't
order.
recommend sending in cash in. Some people do, but I would not recommend that.
Yeah, I've been one of those. So.
And surprisingly, it tends to get to us, but it's just, you never know.
Okay, thank you.
Elizabeth?
I just wanted to follow up with the person who can help us with a Facebook page. Samantha, who's got the baby. Her email address was sclark@reesacrossamerica.org.
Correct.
Okay, and she's willing to help retarded old people who don't know a whole lot about how to do these things.
Yes, she will.
She'll certainly work
walk
through
you
with
through
you. And honestly, she'll help you, give you some pointers too about maybe finding some folks to help you locally too, because we definitely encourage everybody. If you're a volunteer location coordinator or a group leader, we know that there's a lot to do here. So we encourage you to bring other people on to help out with things like social media. And that way, maybe make that's their way of volunteering by supporting your efforts.
Okay, I'm in a DAR chapter, so we have some bright young people who can help.
That's great.
Yep, put them to work.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Claudia?
Hi, everyone. I had two questions. One about the mobile education unit. How do we go about attempting to get on the schedule for that? I've submitted our location for the last 2 years, and I know it's probably high in demand, but is there any other things that we need to do for that?
No, just fill out that form. I know this year we've tried to go back through people who had submitted forms before, and if we could get them in that area, we were trying to accommodate that. You can also always reach out to your liaison and they can help put you in touch with the MEE team if you have other questions.
Okay, I'll let Tara know that. And the second question was about social media. We had a volunteer photographer at our event this year, and she gave us rights to all of her photos, which was fantastic. Is it assumed acceptable to take our location logo that was approved by Rees Across America already and put that over top of pictures that were given to us, or do we have to have all of those things approved as well?
Could you email me an example of what you're talking about so that I can make sure I'm following what you're saying? So you're talking like a watermark on top of the photos of a Rees Across of your logo?
Some of them have been a watermark, but some of them have been like taking the graphics that are included in the monthlies that you guys send out and kind of like put ours next to it or include it in like a bigger picture kind of thing. Like if you go, we have a Facebook page, Rees Across America Shippensburg, and we've been trying to schedule at least one post every day for the last couple of months. If you want to glance over that and let me know if we're out of compliance or.
Yeah, Claudia, I'm going to send you a direct message so that I get that spelt right so that I can look it up and then I can take a look at that and we can go through that. And let me just get an example of what we're looking at. That would help me visualize what we're talking about. Okay.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
All right, Dan.
Hello, everyone. This is my first go around with Rees Across America, organizing and whatnot. Couple questions. I was a little bit late signing in. How do we, accept credit cards and get that to Reese across America? Is there a QR code for that? That'll be.
Yep. Yep, so that's super easy. You are going to be, and when you got your sign up email, you should have received like your direct link. If you like reachacrossamerica.org/ and then your group ID. You can use
Yep.
that link to give to people, and you also can use that link to create a QR code on all of the sponsorship forms. We do have the QR code up in the right hand corner. And
Okay.
your regional liaisons can help you customize forms with your QR code, so that when you go out and about and you're handing the forms out, they can right there, then they can either go ahead and scan
Yep.
that QR code to make a donation online, or they can
Yep.
choose to keep the form and do it later or send a check in.
Okay, and then the next thing that just came to mind is if people are donating cash out in the field, and I heard that we should not send cash in, but get a money order. What if someone for $17 says, here's a $20 bill? How do we handle that? And they don't want change, so.
You just send the $20 in. So every dollar is rounds up. We will, you're always going to get probably odd amounts, because someone doesn't have, I never have cash, but I would definitely never have like $17. I would probably have a
Yeah,
22.
exactly.
So you're
Yep.
probably going to get that a lot, and it will eventually add up to where it would end up being a wreath. We do always round up. We don't round down, and we never send you a partial wreath. Not
Okay,
yet,
so-
anyways. We've never done
Yeah.
that.
So the extra cash would go to purchasing or supplying extra wreaths
Mhm,
for our
yep.
location? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I
All
think
right.
that's
Thanks,
it.
Dan. Good luck.
Thanks.
Michelle?
You probably already know what my question is. It's
don't, Michelle.
it's about the grave specific online, and about, we've talked about website changes over the last couple of years, and then we haven't implemented them. I just need to know, are the online steps going to change for this year, just because we give a cheat sheet as our handout with the step-by-step on how to order a grave specific online, and I'm getting asked about getting those printed for this year.
We are hoping to do some updates to that online that would change it a little bit, but I think for right now, the best thing to do is to go ahead and print out those the way that it's currently set up. That way
Okay.
you're not holding off, and you can go ahead and maybe just print a smaller amount. So you're not, if we do change it, if it gets updated in a month or two or 3, then you can just print new cheat sheets at that point. And we
Okay.
will, as soon as we kind of have some stuff ironed out, we'll share that information with everyone. We're just kind of getting through wrapping up 2022 so we can focus on some of the updates that we need to put into place for 2023.
Okay. And then, so because that's part of our order form, it has the QR code. It says this is how you do a general, this is how you do a grave specific. And on the back, we have the mailing instructions if they want to send a check. So with the changes that you've got, I just need to run that by Stephanie before printing, since
Yep.
it would not be on your form. Okay.
Yeah, because we just want to make sure when we're asking to see everyone's forms, it's just because we want to make sure that all the information that finance needs is on there in a way that they can easily see it. You've been doing this a long time, Michelle, so I don't imagine that there's probably any major changes that would need to happen there. It's just a way
Okay.
for us to help make sure that to help you guys, get your payback checks a little bit faster, so that we can make sure that everything is, entered in the way that it needs to be. And
Okay,
people can
great.
still send those forms in directly. The only time like where we said, the tally sheets required, that's only if the location coordinator, the group leader is sending in a batch of checks. But we can certainly still pass out those sponsorship forms, and it's encouraged to do that because some people do just want to take it home and then send it in on their own when they have time.
Yeah, because I think we answered that in the chat, or in the chat, there was a little bit of confusion. At first, I thought I heard you had to include a sponsorship form with every check and a tally sheet. But if you're doing a batch of checks, you can just do the tally sheet, because most of the time I just get checks. I don't get
Mhm.
a order form with it, and then I just attach all the checks on the tally sheet.
Yep.
Okay,
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Michelle.
thanks.
I'll let you know about the other stuff as soon as I can.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Tom.
Yes, ma'am. Our squadron, Civil Air Patrol Squadron, has been participating for a number of years yet now, and many of our members have been doing it and enjoying it tremendously. And we definitely thank you for the support for our units in the process of doing that. I did just check the current website, and our particular cemetery, which is Georgia National Cemetery, does not provide for grave-specific requests. Is there a generalization as to why a certain cemetery would not, and is that subject to change through the year?
So Georgia National, I know they're always covered, or have been for the last couple of years. So in those cases, it's more of a, I don't want to say hassle, but it's harder to do the grave specific, because the grave specific, if you're covering all the graves, then they're all going to get them. And every location coordinator kind of has the opportunity to do them differently. Some location coordinators will take pictures of the wreath on the grave and send it to them. Some don't. Some just make sure that they're placed. So it's really just, it usually comes down to manpower. So what you could do is, if that's something that, you know, your squadron would be interested in, like, hey, we would like to offer this for people at our cemetery, you can reach out to the location coordinator and offer, say, hey, can we do this? Can we take this on? Because it may just be that they don't have the manpower or the time for themselves to go out and do it.
Okay, what we've been doing so far is I'll buy the miniature flags for the reason we want to specifically decorate for our members who have members buried there. And if they're Navy, we put a Navy flag on it. But we've always, like you said, Georgia National has been fully subscribed for several years, even though we're burying about 1,000 a year there.
Yeah, that's, I mean, it speaks to a lot to all the people involved there, and, you know, all the opportunities. You guys are doing a great job making sure that that's covered every year. So, but yeah, just reach out to the location coordinator and see if, you know, maybe that's something you guys, you know, you could help
Will do.
them with.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Ann?
This is kind of circling back to the cash, and I've been one of the ones who sent it, is when we get a form and say they put in 25, they wanted to make a $25 donation, I would add $5 from other cash donations we've had, so that we'd have an even number of wreaths. Because our treasurer was very confused about getting odd increments, and at one point our wreath tally showed, you know, 75.3 wreaths, and I always wanted to be sure we had a full wreath, not a partial wreath.
Yeah.
For my very left brain side. So it sounds like what I should do when I send in my tally to get a whole number is then just send a money order for whatever will bring that up to the next whole value. Does that make sense?
Yep. And that's exactly what you could do.
Okay, thank you. We kind of circled around it, but I was one who put $5 bills into those envelopes just so.
I mean, a lot of people send it still. It's just, you know, of course, there's times where sometimes the money, you know, the envelope falls open, stuff. I mean, that can happen with checks too. But there's a little bit more accounting if it's a check that goes missing than if it's cash that goes missing. That's a little bit harder to track if something happens to the package in the mail. So it's just recommended to do a money order.
Thanks. I didn't realize that you would credit whatever money you received, and you would handle fractions of wreaths, was the end of the year. You know, so that's a good one.
Yeah, we always have the numbers in the wreath count report is going to show you like that 0.7, 0.3, just so you guys kind of know when you can match up what you've sent in versus what we have. But like I said, we always round that up, and we don't send half wreaths. So
thank you.
All right, thanks, Ann.
Fourth year, I'm excited.
Well, thanks. Look forward to a good year. All right, Keith.
All right, had to unmute my mic. All right, don't want you guys hearing me hacking and coughing and stuff. So when I reinstating my location and my group. One of the things I saw in there is we're not allowed to take our extra wreaths to a non-participating cemetery. Did I
Nope, so
read that
you
correctly?
nope, you are definitely still allowed to do that. What we did is we just kind of added some policies around that for everyone's protection. So the way that it would work is if you are, as a location coordinator, if you are taking a group of wreaths over to another cemetery, and you're having a ceremony there, what we're asking is that you sign that up as a location if there is actively going to be a ceremony. If you are just taking wreaths to another cemetery to place, but there's not going to be a ceremony, you do not need to register it as a location. But what we do need is we do need a contact at location approval form from the cemetery, just for liability reasons in case something happens, so that we know that those wreaths were placed there. It also helps us to keep track of the cemeteries where we're placing wreaths. So if someone comes to us and says, hey, we want to sign up this location, if it's not listed as a participating location in the past, we would say, oh yeah, sure. And then we've had a very few instances where we then had this 2 people placing wreaths there. So it just helps us kind of keep better track as we continue to grow and we're adding on more cemeteries. So you just would have to, again, get that form. And then if you have people, some people allow individuals to order wreaths through them, and then they come, they pick them up, and then they take them and place them on their individual loved ones' graves. That is, there's no, you're not required to fill out any forms for that, because that's just the responsibility of the person picking up the wreath to make sure they're following the guidelines of the cemetery where their loved ones buried.
Yeah, that's what most of mine it has been the last couple of years. I'm the only participating location in our county.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of, I went on Find a Grave. There's 256 cemeteries and burial locations in our county. A lot of them only have 3 people buried there.
Mhm.
One of them, when I was looking at it, it only has 3 people. One of them is a veteran. So our extras, we have a cemetery right down the street that's behind a burned down church.
Mhm.
And it has like 28 veterans buried there. So our Boy Scout troop took, I think, 9 of our extra wreaths down and placed it in that cemetery.
Mhm.
And I also put a business card in a Ziploc bag on each one of them, so that if the family member found the wreath, they would find the card and hopefully contact me. But I haven't gotten any. But I also have, like, the American Legion. One of the guys is like, well, my brother's buried in the next town over. So what I do on that is I ask them to sponsor 2 wreaths, one for Quaker and one for them to take.
Mhm.
That way my numbers don't drop down into the point where I don't get 100% coverage.
Yeah,
And it's worked out
absolutely.
pretty good so far.
I think that's great. I
And-
mean, you don't want people seeing oh, you're taking grease from here, but they're not covered. So I think that's, smart to do that. And you
And
can absolutely still continue to do that. So.
Okay. Well, the people and several of them actually came because we put them in American Legion Hall. They actually show up on wreath delivery day and take their wreaths with them, so they're not taking them on the
Mhm.
day of the ceremony. That way, it's
Yeah.
not like, hey, we can take wreaths. So
Yeah. Yeah. And then we do, you want to make sure, obviously the same thing applies for some of these locations that, are not maintained by anyone. If you're out in the woods, it's a cemetery that's closed behind a burnt down church, whatever, that kind of thing. You would just kind of handle them like you would, because there's not typically someone that is on staff for the cemetery that you can get that approval form for. So in those cases, we just ask that you communicate with your town, and make sure that there's no issue with it. And, you know, kind of move forward and just communicate with your liaison the name of the cemeteries you're placing them at. And again, that just helps us for liability. If something happens, we know that those were our wreaths that were there. And then also we can help if someone were to ever contact us. You know, you're in a smaller or more rural area, so probably not
Yep.
tons of people contacting us, but it's just, you know, we want to make sure we cover all of our bases. So
I
yeah,
mean,
you're
my-
good. And if you have any questions,
my
you
own-
can,
Yeah, my ultimate goal is to get one place on every veteran in the county. I'm a long way from that, but that's my ultimate goal.
well, keep it up. You're doing a great job. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
All right. Thanks, Keith. Barbara?
Which one? Me?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh,
I was curious as to how many national cemeteries
Oh, come on.
don't have coordinators.
national cemeteries, we actually only have about 4 that aren't participating. 3.
Because I know the National Cemetery in Springfield, Missouri is not, and that's where my dad's buried at. And they have
Yep.
lots of veterans there.
So they actually have, there's another organization that has placed wreaths here in the past. And so they just did not have anyone registered with us. And that's something that I believe they contacted us this past year. And they wanted to look about getting involved again in 2023. So I think that we'll see some, I can't even think of the word there. We'll see them coming back on board
All right,
there. So
thank you.
you're welcome. The other Barbara that has her hand raised. You gotta, you are muted. So if you can just hit that microphone button in the bottom left-hand corner. There you go.
Okay, on your main page, when you open it up and you have the bright red sponsor wreaths,
Mhm.
have you made any adjustments to increasing the size of being able to pick specific cemetery? That
Nope,
that small white writing is extremely difficult for the older people to find and order their wreaths online.
Yep. So that's still the same right now. But what we actually encourage you to do is instead of having people go to the main website, wreathsacrossamerica.org, you want to have them go to your direct link, which would be wreathsacrossamerica.org / in either your location ID or your group ID. And that's going to take them straight to your page. And then they don't have to try to find where they need to go. Once they get there, they can click on that sponsor wreath, and all the wreaths sponsored through that link will be credited directly to your group or location.
Can you send us an email with that direction, please? So I can reprint that on my forms?
Yeah.
On how you want that done?
What region are you in?
What region am I in? Green, what's green? 1.
Region 1.
With Terry. Okay, I can get the verbiage from her. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, the educational resources that you have are still dated for 2022. When will those be updated for so we can distribute those?
The teach staff or what
When you go-
educational resource?
Like when you go in and ask the young people to take a history and participate in that under the educational resources?
I can answer that, Julie. Barbara, so the Teach curriculum is, I mean, those were items that were they were posted in 2022, but they're not outdated. Like they won't, they're just the dates that they were created, but they don't actually, it doesn't matter. Like it's not tied to a date. It was just the dates that they were created. So those are constantly being updated. We're actually putting up new lesson plans every month at this point. So if you go through, and you know, the lesson plans that are on there, you know, some of them speak to specific types of the year or timelines of the year or holidays, but they're not, you know, the dates it's just the date that they were created and posted.
Okay. Very good, because I went to do a presentation today and someone called me on the fact that what I was giving them was dated 2022. Should they ask their youth to do it and then find out it wouldn't be valid for this year?
Oh, if you're talking about the Veterans Oral History Project specifically,
Right.
that actually is being updated. We're actually going to be posting a new program for that in the next week or two. So they can still participate and they can still submit, and that's no worries at all. But we will be putting a new one up in the next couple weeks.
Oh, okay, very good. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Harry, your turn. You waited so patiently.
You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me here. So, question for you on the grave specifics. Who's ever changed around or developed the output, the Excel files that are created, can we please have on there the veterans' either date of birth or date of death? It made it impossible trying to find people that, entered a veteran on there. And, it was, Jonathan Armbrister. We've got 9 of them.
So you're saying because it wasn't required, so it didn't
it used
put it in?
No, it's not on the Excel files. If we download the Excel files for the grave specifics, the date of birth and the date of death are no longer on there. They used to be on there. Absolutely positive. I just double checked. Double checked me too.
Because I feel like I've checked that so many times this past year. And you're going into the grave specific report and doing it that way.
Yes.
Okay. I'll check on that because actually,
yes,
I bet I know what and I thought this was fixed. So I'm going to say it must not have been. So I'm going to have to get on that. But when you go into the grave specific information, and I'm trying to remember because there's been so much in my brain lately, and it will say, when you get down to where the veteran's name is, and it will ask you there's a toggle there after the date of birth, date of death. Oh, if it's designated or if they are
placing it
deceased
themselves.
No, it's after that. It's oh my gosh. No, I can't think of what it is. It's gonna drive me crazy. Anyway, there's a toggle underneath, like right underneath like the date of birth, date of death, where it says like deceased or living or undesignated. If that is not selected as I think it's deceased, I think that's what it says. It was not, for a period of time, it was not pulling that information into the Excel file. I thought that was fixed. I feel like we tested it, but it's entirely possible that something happened and it just is broken again. So
yeah,
thank you for letting me know. I will.
I'm here for you.
Thanks.
And the other thing, is it possible, I know this has been like a yearly request from me, is it possible that we can have the veteran's name broken up by first name and last name? Because the veteran's name is in there just by the full name. So if anybody's coming up looking for them, they're looking for Bill or they're looking for John. And, it would be so much easier trying to sort it out. Because we've got obviously grave specifics that volunteers are going to volunteers are going to place, and then obviously people are going to place them themselves.
I second that request.
Don't shoot the messenger.
I know. I can definitely ask for that. The part of the problem is kind of how we receive the information, especially like with some of the mailed in stuff. And it's not always super like first name, last name. So it was kind of easier to have it in one spot. There is some ways that you can run some formulas to easily split that out from the spreadsheet, but he got so upset with me because of my answer, he walked away.
No, listen, I have to put steaks on the grill. Okay. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I got priorities here.
So yeah, so it's definitely something I can ask. I'm not going to make any promises on that because I don't, we did a pretty big overall on that this year, but if anyone does need help splitting that out, you can certainly reach out to your liaison. If they don't know how to do it, I know how to do it. I can show them how to do it. We can help you guys split that out so it's a little bit easier to manage on the spreadsheet.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Enjoy your steaks. All right, Chris.
Steaks are on the grill.
Chris Brown, you got your hand raised? And if you're
I need to
talking,
be-
you're muted.
Okay,
there you go.
okay, here we are. I have a lot of people give me cash too. And I write a check for each one of those people, and on the memo, and I do an order sheet for them in their name with all their information. And on the check, I write for Mary Jones.
Mhm.
Does that get credited to Mary Jones then?
So in the past, we just recently, that was one of the big changes that went out in October, where we could add that third party sponsor name, because typically it would just be the name on the check that was applied. And also on the new forms, let me see if I can go back real quick.
Oh, I put on the order form their name and their
Yep.
information.
So on the new forms, you'll see this area there that says sponsor name for display. So when you fill out, if you're submitting a writing a check for someone's cash, you can actually put it on this form. You would put their name, because it's going to say if it's different than the name on the check, and that's just going to help the finance office to know a little bit easier to, because sometimes when they're getting like big stacks of checks, it's hard for them to go through the memo on all of those checks and to be able to notate that properly. So that is one of the reasons why we did update the form with that on there. So going forward, you can still send that the check in for them, and just make sure you notate it on the sponsorship form, who the name that it should be displayed. And if you put their email address, they'll get that receipt as well.
I've just done it. I've just done it in their name. I've just done the sponsor form in their name and then attached my check.
Right, but when they're scanning the checks in,
Okay.
sometimes it goes under yours. So, but like I said, going forward, that's what the new form, it just makes that a little bit easier, because it's laid right out there on the form. You can put their email address in, they're going to get that e-receipt, and it'll make it a little bit straightforward.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Rick.
Oh, it's Pam. I'm using Rick's iPad. So both my organization and I are new to Reads Across America. Last year was our first year. So, and I also have not yet done the reinstatement form. My question may be addressed on the form, but what I'd like to know is, how do we change the locations that we sponsor? We want to change cemeteries. And I just put in the cemetery ID, the new one, on the reinstatement form, and that's it? Or does something more need to be done?
You can put the new location on the reinstatement form. It's going to ask you if you want to change your information. You're going to say yes. You're going to put that new location ID on there. And then if the regional liaison team has a question about it, they'll just email you to confirm that you want to switch that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Dan, you have another question?
Yes, I do. So I forgot one of them, but we just found how to request the mobile unit. Is there a route that they usually take?
There is, and is that posted on the MEE page?
Yeah,
Amber?
it is.
I think
It
that
should
was-
be posted on the MEE. Yep, on the page on the website.
So if you go to the readsacrossamerica.org, underneath the menu, you'll see where we have the mobile education exhibit page there. You can click on that on there. That's where the form is that you can request to have them come to you. And it also has the route that they take.
Okay, is there only one unit that travels the states, or are there a couple?
So far.
Yeah, until we
far.
get like someone who makes a really big donation for it, and we can get a second one, right? Renee?
Okay. Yeah, I was involved actually. I used to work for the VA and actually did some outreach with them in Monterey, California. So I didn't know what the route was. But the other question is, who do I contact? Someone had generated our website page, and there's some things that I need changed on there. Who do I contact?
Your regional liaison, they're
Regional?
going to be
Okay.
able, yep, they'll be able to help you. So when you log into your dashboard, you have access to customize all of that information. On there, we do have on the volunteer resource page, there is a step-by-step dashboard tutorial that walks you through all the things you can do in there, the reports you can run, things you can change, add photos and all that. But you can certainly reach out to your regional liaison team, and they will be happy to connect with you and help you make any of those changes as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome. Kathy, how are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
Good.
I have a follow-up question in reference to the cash donation the woman was just speaking about.
Mhm.
On the sponsorship form, you would put the sponsor's actual name as opposed to the cash. But if I'm sending in a whole tally sheet with lots of checks, am I supposed to send you that form as well then? Because it
The
wouldn't normally
sponsorship
be
form?
there. Yeah, like,
So the tally sheet actually has that same spot on there that says sponsor name different than the check. It looks just like that little section right
yeah,
there.
it looks just like, that was my next question.
So
On
yeah,
the
you
in-
can put so you don't have to send the sponsorship form in unless
But you can put it on the other form, on the
Yeah,
tally
so
sheet.
yep, the only time the sponsorship form is required is if they have a grade specific or an in honor and in memory of, because that's not on the tally sheet. Other than that, you can just send in the tally sheet and keep the re-sponsorship forms for your record.
Okay, I know you mentioned earlier that there was a it's, the tally sheet is only like this, or there's an Excel spreadsheet that
Mhm.
could be easier, because certain times of the year, I might have 20 checks. And
Mhm.
that would be a lot of these. And I
Yeah.
don't know how to simplify this. You know, like before, they were single lines and I squished everything in there, but
Yeah.
this is
Which
gonna
that
be,
was, and it's a little bit, takes up a little bit more room, but part of it is so that way it's a
They
little bit
can see it.
easier for us to be able to scan it in, because that's part of the new process that they've, updated, is they are scanning this information in rather than manually entering it, which is, makes things go a little bit faster, which is
Okay.
what we all want. So we
And-
did have to just kind of make that a little bit clearer so we could get that information without it being all squished. So the Excel spreadsheet, yep, you could still, if you need help with that, reach out to your
ask
regional
Sarah.
liaison. We can help,
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
show you how to
Okay.
set the print area so it's a little bit easier to add
Easier,
rows to
right?
it.
Yeah, and because the tally sheet can be, I don't want to say modified, but I can fill in, like type in our, our ID and location information, and repeat it so that would all be in there. All right, we
Yep.
could do that?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. That's it for me.
All right. Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
All right, guys. Well, it is after 9 o'clock. You guys had lots of questions. I knew you would fill that time up. That's why I went so fast. So we're going to go ahead and call it a night. Thank you all for joining us and taking time with us tonight. And if you have any follow-up questions, again, you can always reach out to your regional liaison team and they will be happy to assist you. And I hope you guys all have a great evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Good to-
you.
Thank
Good to
you.
see you again.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
me too. Enjoy your
Bye.
steak too.
Oh, they're cooking right now.